slides and I'll do that. When I was asked to be in this panel, I just thought about what are the questions that people asked me in the last couple of years about farming. I've been doing some greenhouse configuration for smallholding farmers. So people generally who come to me from apartments, they keep asking me some questions which I have listed here. One of them is what kind of crops we can grow on my terrace or in my balcony. So people, Dr. Ashwath has already covered most of it, but I want to give a different perspective on that. So as I said, we cannot grow trees on our terrace for many reasons. What you should think of if you are just a beginner of gardening, terrace gardening, is start with leafy greens. Yeah. Why leafy greens? Because you can grow any herbs, for instance, not just the leafy greens. It's one of the plants that I would recommend to start with. The reason is it requires very low light intensity compared to other plants that you can think of. Just 300 ppfd. You don't worry about what is ppfd. Just to give you what is ppfd, the sunlight in Bangalore, the direct sunlight is about 1200 ppfd. Don't worry about what is ppfd, the unit, but the amount of sunlight that we get in winter in Bangalore is about 1200 ppfd, and in summer it may go up to 2000, but I have written it as 1800. Out of this so much of light, you need only 300 ppfd for plants. All of us know plants require light to grow, and if we in our apartments, in our balcony, in our terrace, for whatever reason, we may not get sufficient light. So you should be aware of how much of light we are getting before even you start your gardening on your terrace. And this is the plant that requires the least amount of light to grow are leafy greens. The second thing is it just takes about 30 to 40 days for harvesting. The reason is you just harvesting the leaves. Any plant starts with producing the leaves. Only when it has sufficient leaves, then only it starts up reproduction to produce. It starts producing flowers and fruits. So the leafy greens, it just takes about 30 to 40 days of growth to harvest. So you can enjoy whatever your work in just 30 to 40 days. And the most also important is you can grow these plants in just 1 foot or less than 1 foot of growth media. It could be coco peat, it could be soil, or whatever. It needs very shallow soil depth. So I would suggest you start with these leafy greens. If you have more light on your terrace or balcony, then that is the light. If the light intensity is up to 600 and 900 ppfd, I'll tell you how to measure this ppfd in the next slide. If you have a little bit more light and you have a little bit more patience to wait for 90 to 120 days, then you can grow any of these vegetables on the terrace. But I doubt you can grow any of these in balcony because you will never get this amount of light in the balconies. But you should also have proper containers because it needs more depth of soil or the coco peat or whatever that you need. And the other alternative is you can grow ornamental plants. There are multiple kinds of ornamental plants, and ornamental plants, most of them, many of them we grow it for the foliage, the beautiful colored leaves that they have, or there are ornamental plants which flowers also. So these, depending upon whether they are flowering or just the leaf producing plants, the ppfd required is just ranges from 100 to 500 ppfd. So many of these ornamental plants you can even keep inside your house at least for a few days, not permanently. So these are some of the options that I would suggest for growing plants on the terrace. And these are the same plants that Dr. Ashwath is growing on his terrace. Now, what you shouldn't be growing are the trees, for instance. You shouldn't be. There are people who talk about growing jackfruit, guava, and mango, and I have seen these plants, but they don't produce, the fruits. For instance, the mango trees. You must have seen a mango tree outside, right, on the land. It takes 2 years. Mango trees do not produce mangoes every year. It takes 2 years of photosynthesis, of their their physiology. They have to make their food for 2 years in the open, bright sun, and that food that is made for 2 years, they mobilize it into the fruits after 2 years. So a plant, a mango tree that is growing on the terrace cannot do that. And more importantly, you should look at the root system, which is never visible to us. Imagine this is a tree. I mean, the root system of any tree or any plant for that matter is almost a mirror image of what we see on the foliage. So if this is a foliage on the upper side, the root system almost mirrors the foliage. So if the plant, what you see on the land is of that much volume, the roots, it needs the same amount of soil and the depth and the width for the plants to grow. I hope I made that point clear. You cannot, I mean, for that reason, since you cannot provide so much of soil on the terrace, even if you have the space for the tree cover, you cannot grow these plants. Even if you grow, it will grow, but you will only be growing a bonsai plant. Those plants will produce 1 or 2 mangoes in 2 years. Is it worth to wait for 2 years of gardening for just to produce 2 mangoes in your terrace? Is your wish. So the container is the limitation. Yeah, that's the point that I wanted to make here. And the next slide is, I was talking about the PPFD. Different plants require different light requirements. There are shade-loving plants which you expose it to high light, they will get scorched and they will die. If there are plants which require slightly more light, which if you put them in shade, they will not produce the produce that you want. So how do you measure that? Fortunately, till recently, we didn't have only the scientists used to have the instruments to measure these PPFD. But now there are mobile applications, all kinds of smartphones, whether it's iPhone or Android phones. There are apps like this. The camera can estimate the PPFD that is necessary to grow the plant. These are available free. You can download it and you can study it. Very simple to use, and it's a very useful device to measure, to decide what plants you can grow on your terrace or balcony. You can just Google free app for measuring PPFD for plants, and also you can get the which plant requires how much of PPFD, and that's a very important criteria for you to decide what plants to grow. And the next thing is, some of the questions, as I said, people ask is, I bought these expensive plants. If you go to the local nurseries, you will get all these ornamental plants which are they cost about 250 rupees to 1,000 rupees. But when you buy and bring it to the house, if you don't give the proper conditions, they will die. So very many people complain this. I bought this plant for 1,000 rupees and within just 2 months it died. The reason is, there are, a couple of reasons that you can think. These are beautiful plants, but they die. A couple of reasons why they die is there is no drainage. People do not give the drainage to the plants when they bring it, especially the ones who do not know, who have just started gardening. They don't give the drainage, so excess of water in the pot, it will basically, even the root system, what I was showing here, it's a living thing. If you just leave, the water in nature, when it rains, it needs water, but the excess of water drains down. The same thing should happen in our pots or whatever container that we are giving. So if you don't give the drainage, we will not know why the plants died, but it dies. The reason is if we are suffocating the roots. Unless if the root is dead, the plant is dead. The other thing is, sometimes people tend to use fertilize. They give excess of fertilizer that will scorch the plant. And the other thing is, people will not know where to keep the plant. If you do not know whether it is a shade-loving plant, whether it is a moderately light-requiring plant, then again that's a problem. And that's another reason people generally kill the expensive plants that they buy from the market. And there are other comments that people make, apartment employees. I have insects on my plants, what do? You have to spray insecticide. whether it is organic or synthetic. There is no other go. I recommend certain insecticides. They spray, they say it controlled very well, but after 2 months they come back again. Oh, again the same insects have come back. Where did the insect? Dr. Ashwath was showing some of the plants, some of the insects that generally affect the urban gardeners. The aphids, the thrips, and the mealybugs. They're very tiny insects. Where do they come from? When you spray insecticide, it's not like a vaccine. It kills the insects, but it doesn't give the immunity to the plant. So again, the insect will come. But where the insects are coming, they are so people don't realize that even on the terrace or even in the open land, the insects, they don't just fly from the neighboring plots. These very tiny insects, they flow in the air current maybe a few kilometers up in the sky. These are studies people have done, and this is one of the active research. Sometimes many insects, they cross the seas also through the air current. So they don't fly. They are winged. Many of them are winged, but they cannot fly long distances. They get carried by the wind. And when they see some greenery, they can they can descend down onto the greenery. That's how the insects spread. There is no way you can control this. Insects, you just have to spray whenever you see these insects. So there was a lot of discussions around insecticides and their ill effects and all that. If you really want to, practice organic farming, then you have to go for, according to me, what is called protected culture. Protected culture is growing plants in a greenhouse, in a completely enclosed structure, and that's what we are working on. I'll just give you a couple of points on that. Before that, I was telling about there are a lot of technologies to grow plants in urban areas, like the hydroponics and the vertical garden and all that. But these are technologies which were developed in the Western countries, and where they have sufficient amount of electricity, a lot of money and all that. But as I said previously, the companies which have which were started, many of them, both in Europe as well as in US, if you search in the Google, you will get all of them, or 90% of them are already closed down. The reason is, there are a couple of reasons. Number one is, it's highly expensive. These are all grown mostly indoor, and you need air conditioning, and everything is grown in artificial light. And how can you replace sunlight with artificial light, at least in India? It's so expensive. So the initial investment itself is very high, because it's so much of steel structure is involved in that, and it's all has to be done in an air conditioned environment. The third thing is, the electricity. It's it needs continuous electricity for lighting all those bulbs that are inside. So, and the most important thing is, what you can grow is only lettuce and spinach. How much of lettuce you can use? How much lettuce I can eat? You cannot produce, most of the other plants are not produced in this kind of structures. Mostly 90% of the produce that are grown in these technologies are lettuce, mostly lettuce, and spinach to a lesser extent. But people have tried with tomatoes and other things, at least with hydroponics, so not with vertical farming. People have tried, but with very limited success. People may claim, but for these reasons, all the companies which were established with multi-million-dollar investment, they have closed down. You can check with the internet. That's my conclusion. So for that reason, so are these technologies bad? No. We can probably adapt these technologies to our conditions, and that's what I'm doing. This is my pitch deck. There are a couple of slides, but pitch deck in the means, I have a startup who work on greenhouse, but we are not in the market as yet, so it's not really a pitch deck. I'll just give you an idea of what is the principle that we are trying to use to address the problems that we were talking about. How do we grow the plants in a protected environment in a much cheaper way than these technologies that are already available? Now, here is the greenhouse that we have built. This is right in 𝗕𝗃𝗦 in this campus. We have been working on this for the last 2 years, And as I said, these are relatively almost 3 times cheaper than what you get in the market. I mean, at least that's what I claim. And though that's an inside picture, the left-hand side of our greenhouse. So our idea is, I mean, I've been working only with respect to the farmers till now. Till I heard the apartment owners, who said there is huge amount of water that's available in apartments. And the reason why I never worked or tested this greenhouse in apartments or urban areas is that there is a big water problem in Bangalore. If I go and claim, I will grow plants on the terrace, people will laugh at me because there is hardly water for drinking. And then how can they, think of growing using water for growing plants. But now, it's good that I came to this particular event, and that I know that there is excess of water in the apartments at least, that is treated water. Whether it's useful for growing plants is something that we can discuss later. But yeah, this is a greenhouse which is about 400 square feet, and the other thing that I wanted to talk about here is, you have heard of this 𝗕𝗘𝗟𝗢𝗪 and all that, because they give a lot of subsidies for generating electricity on your terrace for your own use. And the solar panel, it needs a structure to support. The solar panel installation of solar panel itself is expensive. The solar panels are expensive, plus the steel structure to support the solar structures are also expensive. What we are trying here, what we have tried here is, the structure that is used to support the solar panel, you can use that as a greenhouse structure as well. So it's a dual purpose structure. It supports the solar panel at the top and the greenhouse below. You can grow the plants below and generate electricity at the top. But you can ask the question, will it not make the shade? How can the sunlight enter the greenhouse? So that's where our selling point is. The greenhouse cover is the kind of greenhouse cover that we use is it diffuses the light. Imagine these are the solar panels that are there in the greenhouse. The shade will fall here, when there is sun directly at the top. And if we keep the light diffuser, generally the light, it travels straight, right? When it travels straight, it creates shadow below. But if you diffuse, if you scatter the light, it will scatter the light beneath the solar panel. So you don't get serious shades beneath the solar panel. That's how we have designed this particular greenhouse. And there are many other features which I don't want to go here. But the other thing I just wanted to tell is, we have, as you can see, we get huge amount of sunlight in India, not just in Bangalore. This is just the figures for Bangalore. But the plants that we grow inside our greenhouses, you need very small amount of that to grow the plants. We are wasting most of the sunlight that we receive. So can we, develop technology where we can maximize the sunlight utilization for growing plants as well as for generating electricity is the concept that I have. I have just one more slide, and that is vertical farming. The same concept, I said, instead of allowing the light to pass directly into your greenhouse, scatter it. If you scatter it, then even if you have the shelves in the greenhouse, then even the shelves will get light to grow the plants. So you don't need the artificial light that people use for vertical farming what they do in the US and other countries. So that's what our concept is, and that's what we are working on. But thank you very much for your time.